Diplomat Tejo stood at the observation deck, watching the human delegation approach. As the senior analyst for the Vosgian Empire, he had studied countless species, but humans fascinated him most. The small blue planet they called Earth had only been discovered 3 cycles ago, yet these bipeds had already caused quite a stir among the elder races of the Galactic Federation. "They smile too much," muttered Krull, Tahoe's assistant, his scaled skin shifting to a cautious yellow. "How can they appear so calm when their historical records show such brutality?" Tahoe's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "That is precisely why I requested this assignment." The Federation had existed for over 10,000 years. Most member species had evolved beyond physical conflict, solving disputes through complex diplomatic algorithms and neural consensus. War was considered primitive, a sign of undeveloped sentience. Yet here came humans, their history drenched in blood, now walking the halls of the Grand Council with cheerful expressions. The airlock hissed open. 5 humans entered, led by Ambassador Juwu, a female with short black hair and eyes that seemed to evaluate everything around her. Tahoe had studied her profile extensively. 42 Earth years old, former military commander before becoming a diplomat. The contradiction embodied. Ambassador Juwu. Tahoe bowed his upper torso in the traditional Vosgian greeting. "Welcome to Station Harmony." "Diplomat Tahoe," she replied with that ever-present human smile. "Thank you for hosting us. Your station is beautiful." The human delegation followed Tahoe through the curved corridors of the station. Other Federation species moved aside, some with obvious discomfort. The Ziv ambassador, a gaseous entity contained in a floating sphere, darkened noticeably as the humans passed. In the meeting chamber, representatives from 12 species waited. Tahoe noted how the humans sat relaxed, while tension filled the room like a physical presence. Elder Mox of the Pellerin Collective spoke first, his translucent tendrils waving. "Humans request full membership in our federation. Yet your species has engaged in warfare consistently throughout your recorded history. Your most recent global conflict ended barely 200 years ago. Some believe this makes humans unpredictable." Tahoe watched Juwu carefully. Her smile never faltered. "Elder Mox, we don't deny our past," she said. "Humans fought each other for resources, for beliefs, for territory. But we learned. We evolved. The United Earth government has maintained peace for over a century. A mere moment in evolutionary terms," hissed Representative Vor of the silicon-based Draxi. "Your neural patterns show unusual responses to threat. Your body chemistry changes rapidly. Even now, your species maintains military forces. For defense only," Juwu replied smoothly. "As do many Federation members." "Not like yours," Vor countered. "We have analyzed your combat training methods. Your soldiers practice killing with an efficiency that disturbs our scientists." Tahoe expected the human to show anger or fear. Instead, Ambassador Juwu simply nodded. "We understand your concerns. That's why we propose a probationary period. Station observers on Earth. Study us. We have nothing to hide." Later, alone with Tahoe in the diplomatic quarters, Juwu seemed more relaxed. The other Federation representatives had grudgingly agreed to a conditional acceptance of humans, with heavy monitoring. "They fear what they don't understand," she said, sipping the blue liquid Tahoe had offered. "I would too, if I were them." "You show remarkable calm when threatened," Tahoe observed. "Representative Vor essentially called your species primitive killers." Juwu laughed. "Diplomat Tahoe, I've been called worse during Earth trade negotiations." "Your neural scans puzzle our scientists," Tahoe admitted. "When confronted with hostility, your brain shows both combat readiness and social reasoning simultaneously. No other species can compartmentalize like this." "It's how we survived," Juwu said simply. "Humans can prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. We can love peace completely while remembering how to fight." Over the next several months, Tahoe spent more time studying humans. He visited their colonies, observed their training exercises, and reviewed their entertainment media. full of both stunning violence and touching compassion, sometimes in the same story. In his private laboratory, Tahoe reviewed the neural mapping of Ambassador Juwu during a particularly tense negotiation when the Draxi had threatened to veto Earth's membership entirely. "Computer, highlight regions of stress response," he commanded. The brain scan illuminated, showing the activation of adrenal systems and combat readiness. Yet simultaneously, the diplomatic and social reasoning centers remained fully operational. It was like watching two brains working at once, one ready for battle, the other calmly seeking peaceful resolution. Fascinating. Tahoe whispered to himself. They are warriors who choose not to fight, not because they cannot, but because they decide not to. The door slid open, and Juwu entered. "Your assistant said I'd find you here. Still trying to figure us out." Tahoe gestured to the brain scan. "Your species can prepare for violence while pursuing peace. No other Federation member can do this. The elders find it concerning. But you don't," Juwu noted, studying his expression. "I find it intriguing. Most species either evolve toward peace by losing their capacity for war, or they remain warlike and destroy themselves before reaching the stars. Humans found another path." Juwu approached the display, looking at her own brain scan. "We never forgot how to fight, Tahoe. We just learned when not to." "The Federation has enjoyed peace for millennia," Tahoe said. "Many believe war is behind us forever." "I hope they're right," Juwu replied. "But if they're wrong, humans remember what others have forgotten." As he filed his report recommending human acceptance into the Federation, Tahoe included a final note of caution. "Humans appear peaceful, but beneath their smiles lies the capacity for tremendous fury. They are not pacifists. They are warriors who choose peace. The distinction may prove important someday." The emergency alarm echoed through the Federation Council chamber, interrupting the trade discussion. Tahoe watched as the holographic display shifted to show a distant human colony world called New Horizon. The settlement was burning. "Attack confirmed on human colony New Horizon," announced Elder Mox, his translucent form pulsing with concern. "Preliminary data suggests Krell involvement." The Krell. Tahoe had studied them. A reptilian species from the Outer Rim who had rejected Federation membership centuries ago, preferring isolation and their militaristic culture. They'd rarely engaged with Federation worlds, making this attack puzzling. Ambassador Juwu entered the chamber, her usual smile gone. 3 years of human integration into the Federation had been largely successful, with trade flourishing and cultural exchanges proving popular. Now this. 2,000 civilians dead, Juwu reported, her voice steady, but her hands clenched at her sides. The colony was research-focused, with minimal defenses. "Regrettable," Elder Mox said. "We will begin diplomatic protocols immediately. The Krell must explain this violation." Tahoe noticed the subtle change in Juwu's posture. Her shoulders squared, her breathing became controlled, and her eyes had changed completely. They reminded him of ancient predators from his homeworld. "With respect, Elder Mox," Juwu said, "my government requests permission to handle this situation the human way." A murmur ran through the chamber. Everyone present understood what she meant. "Ambassador," Elder Mox replied firmly, "the Federation has established protocols for such incidents. We will send emissaries to the Krell leadership. Violence would only escalate matters." 2,000 dead civilians, Juwu repeated. Her voice remained even, which somehow made it more unsettling. "Protocol must be followed," insisted Representative Vor of the Draxi. "That is why we have peace." Juwu nodded once. "We will observe your protocols. For now." In the following weeks, Federation emissaries attempted contact with the Krell. Meanwhile, Tahoe noticed human representatives becoming increasingly quiet during council meetings. Where they had once been eager participants, they now sat silently, observing. Tahoe decided to visit Juwu in her private office. The door slid open, revealing the ambassador speaking via a secure channel with someone Tahoe didn't recognize, a human male in what appeared to be a military uniform. "Fleet readiness at 70%, Ambassador," the man was saying. "The Aegis and Thunderchild battle groups can deploy within." He stopped upon noticing Tahoe. Jumu ended the transmission calmly. "Diplomat Tahoe, what brings you here?" "The Federation's diplomatic mission to the Krull returns tomorrow," Tahoe said, choosing not to mention what he'd overheard. "I thought you might want to prepare." "Thank you for the courtesy," Ju replied, gesturing to a chair. Tahoe settled his six-limbed form carefully. "Humans have been unusually quiet in council meetings. We're observing, learning." Her voice remained neutral, but Tahoe had studied humans long enough to recognize the controlled tension in her posture. "May I speak frankly, as a friend?" Tahoe asked. "Always. My monitoring station has detected unusual movement in human space. Ships gathering. Military communications increasing." Ju didn't deny it. "Preparedness isn't aggression, Tahoe. The Federation Council has not authorized military action, and we haven't taken any," she replied. "Yet." The next day, the diplomatic mission returned with disturbing news. The Krell had refused all communication and attacked the Federation vessel. More alarming, 3 additional human colonies had been targeted. In the emergency session that followed, the counselors argued over appropriate responses. "We must increase diplomatic efforts," insisted Elder Mox. "With respect," Ju interrupted, "the Krell have shown no interest in diplomacy. They've killed over 9,000 human civilians. Earth requests authorization for defensive operations." "Denied," said Vor instantly. "Federation protocols require 3 diplomatic missions before considering military options." Ju's face became completely expressionless. "I understand." She rose from her seat. "Earth respects the Federation's decision. If you'll excuse me, I must consult with my government." 3 days later, Tahoe was awakened by a priority alert. Federation long-range sensors had detected multiple ships departing from human space, warships, moving at high speed toward Krell territory. The council chamber was chaos when he arrived. They were explicitly denied permission. Vor was shouting, his silicon form glowing with agitation. Elder Mox turned to Ju, who had just entered. "Ambassador, your species is violating direct Federation orders. Recall your ships immediately." Ju stood calmly before the council. "I regret to inform you that Earth has enacted Article 7 of our membership agreement, the right to self-defense when Federation protection is insufficient." "This is not self-defense," Vor argued. "Your ships are moving toward Krell space to establish a defensive perimeter," Ju countered. "Nothing more." 2 days later, the first reports arrived. A Krell attack fleet had encountered human forces near the Arcturus system. Federation observers expected the humans to be quickly overwhelmed. The Krell had been waging war for centuries, while humans had only recently returned to space combat. The outcome shocked everyone. The Krell fleet was destroyed, with only the human ships showing remarkable restraint in allowing escape pods to flee. Tahoe requested access to the battle recordings. What he saw disturbed him deeply. The humans fought with cold, calculating precision. Gone were the smiling diplomats. These warriors communicated in clipped, efficient phrases, their faces masks of concentration, as they executed complex battle maneuvers that seemed to anticipate every Krell tactic. More concerning were the recordings of human Marines boarding a Krell command ship. They moved with predatory grace, using weapons and close combat techniques with lethal efficiency. These weren't the humans the Federation had come to know. Tahoe took his findings directly to Elder Mox. "It's as if they transformed into different beings," Tahoe explained, showing the recordings. "Their neural patterns are completely altered, focused entirely on combat efficiency with emotional centers suppressed." "War mode," Elder Mox whispered, "just as you warned in your initial assessment. They didn't forget how to wage war. They simply chose not to." "Until now," Tahoe added quietly. At the next council meeting, other Federation species regarded the humans with new wariness. Ju stood before them, once again composed and diplomatic, as if the fierce warriors in the recordings were a different species entirely. "The Krell have retreated for now," she reported. "Human forces have established defensive positions only." The council chamber remained silent, every representative trying to reconcile the peaceful humans they thought they knew with the warriors they had just witnessed. "We did warn you," Ju said softly into the silence. "Humans value peace deeply. That's why we remember how to fight." Alarms blared throughout Station Harmony as Tahoe rushed to the command center. The massive display showed red warning signals across multiple sectors of Federation space. The unthinkable was happening. The Krell had launched a coordinated attack against not just human colonies, but Federation worlds. "Status report," Elder Mox demanded, his translucent form pulsing with anxiety. "Krell forces have hit 7 systems simultaneously," reported a Draxi operator. "Pellerin Colony Zeta is already lost. Vosian Outpost Meridian under heavy assault." Tahoe studied the tactical display with growing concern. The Federation had maintained only minimal defensive capabilities for centuries, relying on diplomatic solutions to prevent conflicts. Now their outdated ships and inexperienced crews were being systematically overwhelmed. "We need to evacuate the station," insisted Representative Vor. "The Krell fleet will reach us within hours." "Federation Home Fleet is responding," another operator announced, "but they report significant technological disadvantages. Krell weapons are bypassing our shield frequencies." Tahoe noticed a subtle shift in the room as Ambassador Ju entered with several other humans. They wore simple black uniforms without insignia. Their faces were different. Gone were the diplomatic smiles, replaced by focused, almost predatory expressions. "The Human Defense Force has ships in position to assist," Ju stated, her voice lower and more clipped than usual. "We request temporary command authority for coordinated defense." Elder Mox hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Granted." What happened next astonished everyone in the command center. The humans spread out to different stations, communicating in short, precise terms. Ju stood at the central tactical display, issuing rapid commands. "Redirect Federation vessels to these coordinates," she ordered, fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Human battle groups are moving to intercept the main Krell formation. Request permission to deploy within Federation space." "Granted," Elder Mox repeated, watching in fascination. On the tactical display, new ships appeared, human vessels previously undetected by Federation sensors. They moved with purpose, forming precise formations. "Impressive response time," Tahoe observed, moving closer to Ju. "Your forces were prepared." "We've been ready since the first colony was hit," she replied without looking up. "Waiting wasn't our choice." Tahoe had studied humans for years, but the transformation before him was remarkable. Ju's body language had completely changed. Efficient movements, controlled breathing, and eyes that constantly assessed the tactical situation. This wasn't the same person who had shared meals with him and discussed art and philosophy. A communication officer called out, "Incoming transmission from human vessel Thermopylae." The screen shifted to show a human captain, his expression intense. "Ambassador, Krell forces have broken through at Meridian. Federation civilian transports are trapped. Move to intercept," Ju ordered. "Authorization for full combat protocols." "Full protocols confirmed," the captain responded with a slight nod that seemed to carry significant meaning. Tahoe followed Ju to a private monitoring station where they could observe the battle at Meridian. The human ships moved in ways that defied conventional tactics, splitting into smaller groups that seemed vulnerable, only to reform at critical moments to trap Krell vessels. "Your captains fight as if they share one mind," Tahoe noted. "Millennia of warfare taught us patterns," Ju replied, her eyes never leaving the display. "Every human commander studies historical battles going back thousands of years. The Krell, known for their aggressive direct assaults, seemed confused by the human approach. When they concentrated forces on one human ship, others would strike from unexpected vectors. When they scattered to address multiple threats, the humans would suddenly converge with devastating combined firepower. "They're broadcasting something on all frequencies," a communication officer reported. "Let us hear it," Elder Mox commanded. The sound that filled the command center sent chills through Tahoe. Human battle drums and haunting music overlaid with the recorded screams of Krell warriors from previous engagements. "Psychological warfare," Juwu explained, noting Tahoe's reaction. "The Krell respect strength and fear weakness. We're speaking their language." Within hours, the tide of battle had shifted. The Krell advance stalled as human ships arrived at system after system. Federation vessels, initially overwhelmed, found new effectiveness when integrated into human battle groups. Tahoe observed a human commander instructing a Federation captain, "Don't maintain formation. Move erratically. Make yourself a difficult target. We'll cover you." "But standard protocol requires," the Federation captain began. "Standard protocol will get you killed," the human interrupted. "War isn't about rules." 3 days into the conflict, Tahoe found himself on a shuttle heading to the Vosgian outpost Meridian with Juwu and a human security team. They needed to assess the damage and coordinate refugee evacuation. The shuttle rocked violently as they entered the atmosphere. "Krell anti-aircraft fire," the pilot announced calmly, engaging evasive maneuvers. Tahoe watched in amazement as the human pilot seemed to anticipate each incoming attack, twisting the shuttle through impossible trajectories. They landed in a smoking docking bay surrounded by destruction. As they moved through the devastated outpost, Tahoe saw human soldiers engaging remaining Krell forces. Their fighting style was unlike anything in Federation records, a fluid combination of disciplined coordination and individual initiative. When one tactical approach failed, they immediately adapted without needing orders. A Krell ambush caught their group in a narrow corridor. Tahoe froze as plasma bolts sizzled past him, but the humans reacted instantly. 2 security officers pushed Tahoe and Juwu behind cover while returning fire with practiced precision. "Stay down," one human soldier told Tahoe, his voice eerily calm despite the chaos. Juwu herself produced a compact weapon and fired 3 precise shots, dropping a Krell warrior that had flanked their position. "You carry weapons to diplomatic functions?" Tahoe asked when the firing stopped. "I'm still human," she replied simply. Later, aboard a human command ship, Tahoe watched officers gather around a tactical display. They debated options with an intensity that bordered on aggression, yet remained focused on solutions rather than dominance. "The Krell expected us to fight like the rest of the Federation," one commander observed. "They don't understand what they've awakened." "And what is that?" Tahoe asked. The commander looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. "Every human carries the memory of 1,000 wars in our DNA, Diplomat Tahoe. We fought ourselves more than anyone else. We know every trick, every deception, every brutal necessity. We buried that knowledge beneath smiles and handshakes because we hoped we'd never need it again." Juwu joined them, reviewing battle reports. "The Krell are retreating in 3 sectors. Their command structure seems to be breaking down." "They expected an easy victory," the commander replied. "They found gods of war instead." Tahoe finally understood the full truth of humans. They hadn't evolved beyond warfare like other species. They had mastered it so completely that they could set it aside until needed. Tahoe found the mood had changed on Station Harmony. Federation species now moved aside when humans passed, not just out of respect but fear. In the 3 weeks since humans had joined the war effort, the Krell had been pushed back across multiple fronts. Victory songs were sung in some quarters, but whispers of concern had begun in others. Tahoe entered the central plaza to find a crowd gathered around a public display terminal. On the screen played grainy footage that made his 6 eyes widen in shock. Humans fighting humans in what appeared to be historical recordings. Soldiers charging across muddy fields toward certain death. cities reduced to rubble by flying machines, massive explosions that created clouds shaped like trees. "This cannot be real," a young Pellerin whispered, its tendrils curling in distress. "It's real," Tahoe confirmed, recognizing Earth's historical world wars. "Human history. They did this to themselves," asked a Draxi merchant, "and we invited them into the Federation." The recordings had been leaked from secured archives, carefully edited to show only the most brutal aspects of human warfare throughout history. Someone wanted to spread fear. In the council chamber, an emergency session had been called. Representative Vor was speaking, his silicon form pulsing with agitation. "These recordings confirm what many have suspected. Humans are not like us. Their capacity for violence exceeds anything in Federation records." Tahoe watched Ambassador Juwu sitting calmly amid the growing storm. Her wartime demeanor remained efficient, controlled, alert, but she had regained some of her diplomatic polish. "The historical recordings are authentic," she acknowledged when given the chance to speak. "We do not deny our past, but consider that we evolved beyond fighting amongst ourselves. We turned our knowledge toward peace. Yet you unleashed this knowledge against the Krell with disturbing efficiency," countered another representative. Juwu nodded. "Because they left us no choice, and even so, we have shown restraint." "Restraint?" Vor scoffed. "Your forces have destroyed half the Krell fleet. With conventional weapons only," Juwu replied quietly. The chamber fell silent. "What do you mean, conventional weapons only?" Elder Mox finally asked. Juwu stood, her posture straight. "Earth has capabilities we chose not to include in our Federation technology disclosures, weapons we hoped never to use again." The unease in the room grew palpable. Tahoe remembered how humans had compartmentalized their history of warfare, how they smiled while knowing the horror they could unleash. He now understood this wasn't deception. It was hope that such knowledge would never again be needed. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication. All eyes turned to the central display as a Federation officer reported with obvious distress. "Krell forces have broken through the defensive line at Sol. They're heading for Earth with what appears to be their entire remaining fleet." Juwu's expression changed subtly, a hardening around the eyes, a slight tightening of the jaw. She touched her communication device. "Earth Defense Command. This is Ambassador Juwu. Confirm Protocol Omega." The reply came swiftly. "Protocol Omega confirmed, Ambassador." She turned to the council. "The Krell have made a critical mistake. They believe striking our homeworld will break us. They don't understand that threatening Earth removes all our self-imposed limitations." 3 days later, Tahoe stood with other Federation observers aboard the human command vessel Sentinel, watching events unfold from a safe distance. The Krell fleet, nearly 300 ships, approached Earth with clear destructive intent. The human defense seemed oddly minimal. Only a small number of vessels formed a perimeter around the planet. "Where are your other ships?" asked a Pellerin observer. "Surely you must defend your homeworld with everything available." The human admiral smiled grimly. "We are." As the Krell fleet entered the outer reaches of the Sol system, strange satellites previously hidden in the asteroid belt activated. They emitted no energy signatures that Federation sensors could detect, yet the leading Krell vessels suddenly stopped, their systems apparently disabled. "Gravitational inversion fields," explained a human officer when Tahoe inquired. "Adapted from our terraforming technology. They disrupt the space-time fabric just enough to interfere with propulsion and weapon systems." The Krell pressed forward with their remaining ships, but now faced another surprise. The Moon, Earth's natural satellite, opened what appeared to be massive hangar doors. Vessels of unfamiliar design emerged, sleeker and smaller than conventional warships. "Atmospheric interceptors," the officer continued. "We've maintained them in lunar bases since our last global conflict. They'd been upgraded, of course." The interceptors moved with impossible speed, their weapons cutting through Krell shields as if they didn't exist. Most shocking was what happened when the largest Krell dreadnought launched what appeared to be a planet-killer missile toward Earth. The ocean itself seemed to respond, a massive column of water rising up to meet the weapon. The missile exploded harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. Molecular reconstruction array, the human officer said, noting Tahoe's astonishment. We use it for weather control and environmental restoration. It can also intercept threats by altering their molecular structure mid-flight. Within hours, the Krell attack had been not merely defeated but obliterated. Not a single Krell ship remained intact, though human vessels had carefully collected escape pods containing survivors. Back on Station Harmony, Federation species watched the reports with a mixture of relief and new terror. The humans had won, but at what cost to the Federation's peace of mind? Tahoe found Juwu in a quiet observation lounge, looking out at the stars. You never revealed these technologies, he said, not as an accusation, but as an observation. Would you have welcomed us if we had? She asked. Or would you have feared us even more than you do now? We might have rejected your membership, Tahoe admitted. Juwu nodded. We needed the Federation. Not for protection, as you now see. We needed you to help us remain peaceful. To remind us there's another way to exist. You could have destroyed the Krell from the beginning, Tahoe realized. The minimal response to the colony attacks, the gradual escalation, it was all restraint. Humans remember our wars too well to start new ones lightly, she replied. We know exactly what we're capable of. That's what terrifies us most. And now it terrifies the Federation as well, Tahoe said. Juwu turned from the window to face him. We never forgot how to wage war, Tahoe. We simply chose peace until threatened. The question now is whether the Federation will still choose us, knowing what we are. Gods of war, Tahoe whispered, remembering the human commander's words. No, Juwu corrected gently. Just people who learned from our mistakes. The hard way. The Grand Council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from all 117 Federation species had gathered for what many were calling the Human Question Summit. The Krell threat had ended with their unconditional surrender just days after the failed attack on Earth, but a new concern had taken its place. What to do about humans? Tahoe watched as security officers escorted the surviving Krell delegation to their designated area. Once proud warriors, they now moved with defeated posture. Their scales dulled from stress. Their leader, War Commander Screet, had personally signed the surrender after witnessing Earth's defenses. They hid their true strength. Screet had told his interrogators. We believed we fought their full force. We were wrong. Elder Mox called the session to order, his translucent form glowing with formal colors. This emergency summit will address Federation security in light of recent events. Specifically, the integration of human capabilities into our collective future. The chamber hummed with nervous energy. Many species had submitted formal requests to restrict human activities or even revoke their Federation membership. Others argued for mandatory technology transfers to ensure balance of power. Ambassador Juwu entered with a small human delegation. Tahoe noticed immediately that something had changed. The war focus had vanished from their postures. Their faces had softened. Even their walking pattern had shifted from the precise military stride to a more relaxed gait. Most remarkably, Juwu was smiling again. The same diplomatic smile she had worn when humans first joined the Federation. How do they do that? Whispered a Pellerin observer near Tahoe. It's as if they've transformed into different beings again. Ambassador Juwu, you may address the council, Elder Mox announced. Juwu stepped to the central platform, her hands open in the universal gesture of peace. Honored representatives, she began, her voice once again carrying the warm tone that had been absent during the conflict. I understand your fears. You invited a peaceful species into your Federation, only to discover we carry the capacity for terrible violence. You feel deceived. You concealed your true nature, Representative Vor accused. No, Juwu replied gently. We showed you exactly who we are. Humans have always been both, creators of art and wagers of war, builders of peace and masters of violence. She gestured to the massive viewing screen, which displayed Earth's cities and landscapes. Now returning to normal activities, humans went about their daily lives, working, playing, loving, showing no signs of the warriors who had so efficiently destroyed the Krell fleet. This is not deception, Ju continued. This is the truth of humanity. We fight viciously precisely because we value peace so deeply. We understand the cost of war better than species who have forgotten it. We know exactly what we're protecting. Elder Mox floated forward. Your species can shift between these states with remarkable speed. We observe human commanders directing battle operations, then minutes later discussing art or philosophy with complete sincerity. It's how we survived our evolution, Ju explained. We compartmentalize. We remember how to fight so we don't have to. We prepare for war to preserve peace. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives demanded that humans dismantle their advanced weapons. Others suggested isolating Earth from key Federation systems. Fear had taken root. During a brief recess, Tahoe approached Ju in a quiet corner of the chamber. You seem completely transformed, he observed. The warrior I saw directing battles is gone. Ju smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes. Not gone, Tahoe. Just not needed right now. Can all humans do this? Switch so completely? To varying degrees, she replied. It's partly conscious control, partly subconscious adaptation. When threats emerge, we respond. When peace returns, we embrace it fully. Many in the Federation fear this ability, Tahoe said carefully. With reason, Ju acknowledged. But consider the alternative. Would you prefer allies who pretend peace is the only option while being unprepared when violence finds them anyway? Or allies who understand both and can choose wisely? When the session resumed, a surprising voice spoke in support of humans. War Commander Screed of the Krell rose shakily to his feet. The Krell misjudged humans, he admitted, his translator conveying his rasping voice. We saw their peaceful behavior as weakness. We were wrong. Their understanding of war is deeper than our own, because they choose to set it aside until necessary. This is not weakness. It is wisdom. The chamber fell silent at this unexpected testimony from their former enemy. Over the next several days, a new understanding began to emerge. Humans would not be expelled from the Federation. Instead, a new arrangement was proposed. Humans would serve as the Federation's defenders, contributing their unique capabilities while operating under careful oversight. We propose the formation of a Joint Defense Council, Elder Mox announced, with representatives from all major Federation species and human military advisors. All deployments of advanced human technologies will require majority approval. Jumu accepted these terms without hesitation. We welcome the oversight. Humans know better than most how power can corrupt. We've fought our own demons throughout our history. As the summit concluded, Tahoe found himself walking with Juwu through the botanical gardens of Station Harmony. The tensions of recent weeks seemed to have melted away, though he knew the changes would reverberate through the Federation for years to come. Your people will serve as our guardians now, Tahoe observed. Some called you gods of war, but that's not quite right, is it? Juwu paused to examine a delicate flower from Tahoe's homeworld. No, we're not gods, just humans who learned hard lessons. Peace isn't the absence of violence. It's the choice to set violence aside, despite knowing how to use it. And if threats come again, Tahoe asked. Then we'll remember what we've always known, she replied simply. And when the danger passes, we'll put those memories back where they belong, present but not defining us. As they continued their walk, Tahoe watched Federation citizens interacting with humans throughout the garden. The fear remained in some, but curiosity had begun to replace it in others. Understanding would take time. Beneath their smiles lies a warrior's fury, Tahoe mused, remembering his first report on humans years ago. But perhaps that's why their smiles are genuine. They know the alternative. We all contain multitudes. Jiwu said, humans just remember all of ours. In the years that followed, the Federation changed. Military preparedness increased across all species, though actual conflicts remained rare. Human officers trained Federation security forces, while Federation philosophers taught at Earth universities. The balance was delicate but enduring. Tahoe eventually published his definitive work on human psychology, titled The Sleeping Gods. Its conclusion became famous throughout Federation space. Humans are not gods of war who pretend peace. They are guardians of peace who remember war. In this remembrance lies both their greatest terror and their greatest gift to the galaxy. The end.